And tonight on our great, stop laughing, Trippi, on our Great American panel, he's a Democratic strategist. Fox News contributor Joe Trippi is back. He, a nationally syndicated columnist, executive vice president of Edelman PR. Tony Blankley is with us. He's a thrill writer. His latest book is called Buried Secrets. Joe Finder's back with us. And guys, good to see you all.
Thank you. All
right, we got to get to the whole debt ceiling because we're told, John Boehner, the speaker, said we may have the deal within 48 hours. First, let's go to the president using an analogy, using the words gun to our head. You know, remember, he's the one that lectures us about rhetoric, tone in the country. Here's what he said.
Never in our history has the United States defaulted on its debt. The debt ceiling should not be something that is used as a gun against the heads of the American people to extract tax breaks for corporate jet owners.
All right, class warfare again. All right, here's the first point, Trippi. He voted as senator not to raise the debt ceiling because he said it's irresponsible. We got to live within our means. Hypocrisy, number one. Number two is rhetoric. And number three, if we get to the point, and this is the fourth occasion, that we're at this deadline, the full faith and credit argument, we're going to pay our debts first. The thing we're going to cut is programs. So he's not being honest with the American people. Number three.
Well, I also think look, I think all those are points, fair points, but the bigger point is he's not on jobs. There's an opportunity here to create some jobs with this thing. We're not, debt is a big problem with the American people, but it's the economy, it's the jobs that aren't happening. You can do, Eric Cantor opened the door by by putting loopholes on the table. You can do tax credits that would build schools, create 1 million jobs. It's happened in Virginia. Howard Dean, my old boss, supports the idea of doing these kinds of tax credits. That's where he needs to get to. That's where Democrats have to get to on this thing. We have to win on jobs. All this other stuff is just posturing.
Let me go to Tony, because on the other side of this is a moment of truth for these Republicans. If they screw this up and they get screwed in this deal, I think they will be, every one of them will be primaried.
Look, in 1988, President Herbert Walker Bush said, read my lips, no new taxes. Then he cut a deal with the Democrats to raise taxes, and he got defeated. I was there with Newt. We broke with him on that. If the Republicans, their only excuse for existing right now in Washington is to lower the deficit and not do it by raising taxes. And if they decide to get sucked into what is almost certainly going to be a phony accounting tricks kind of a budget
like the 2011 budget.
Oh, look, we all know all of them. You're right, they're going to get primary. They deserve it. It'll be a catastrophe for both the Republicans and for the country. This is a big moment.
This is a big moment.
Well, that's, you're talking.
Go ahead. What are you going to say?
So, guys, so you're talking about the politics aspect of this. Look, a real conservative is going to say this is the opportunity to cut trillions of spending. All right, and this is one of the things. Look, Reagan. Both you and I admire Reagan, and he bit the bullet a couple times and had to raise taxes to save Social Security. All right, and
one caveat. He was promised $3 in spending cuts.
The Tefra bill in 1982. So my point is and President Reagan said it was the biggest mistake he ever made because he was promised by Tip O'Neill $3 of spending cuts for every $1 of tax. He did get the spending cuts, but he did get the tax increase.
So he made
and that's going to happen. And that's going to happen again this time with the Republicans.
But one of the things Reagan did with the Democratic Congress was do exactly these kind of tax credits that I'm talking about, with historical buildings and things that created jobs for building tradespeople, people out there that are out of work right now because of the housing crisis.
Then why did David Plouffe go out there and actually suggest, oh, the American people don't care about unemployment numbers. The American people, they're not caring about debt to GDP ratios.
I think that showed showed some indifference that I don't think that the administration, I think gets.
I'd make them eat those words every single day.
Should not have said those words. You're not going to get me to defend that.
By the way,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say the thing about
polite.
All right.
I'm losing all right.
The thing about the gun to your head thing, I think that's not really totally fair because he actually, Obama did not say don't use the gun to your head thing. No, He said, no, I've looked over the remarks in 2 seconds.
He said what he said should not be used, that this is used as a gun against the heads of the American people.
No. Yes, he said that. No problem. I get that.
Sarah Palin has a targeted district.
Wait a second. Okay. Obama, in his Tucson speech, said, cool, chill. Cool the rhetoric, all right? And I saw that and I said, that's great, because people were on the left were criticized, were actually blaming Sarah Palin for having a target on her website. And that's ridiculous. So he was saying, just chill the rhetoric.
Sweet, look,
But
just,
here's
I,
what
we
he
just
used
played it
so
earlier.
far.
He uses
where
the same
people are.
harsh rhetoric that he says other people shouldn't be using. He says, leave your ideology at the door, and then he comes in with this.
I think it's a great figure of
We're
speech.
so far off of where people are. They're worried about their jobs. They're worried about this economy.
Trippi,
That's
I
where the
think you're-
president has to be in it. And there's a way for Republicans and Democrats to come together. And actually, you and I could go do this. We go meet with Eric Cantor and the.
Look,
I'm not going to raise taxes.
I'm very cynical
I'm not
about-
raising taxes.
I'm very cynical about the prospect of Washington coming up with real budget cuts. President
gimmicks.
Obama is talking about in the 12th out year.
Again, it's worse. I mean, they've done some of this in
Medicare
Virginia
is going to
already.
go insolvent before the 12th out year when the president's going to backload whatever alleged spending cuts.
I will tell any of the Republicans you're watching, this is your moment of truth. This is it. Don't blow it. I'm telling you. And
You can
it's
cut
good for the
trillions of
country.
spending.
Trillions in spending. It's good for the country and also good for your political career.
Right.
Or the Great American Panel after the break. American Panel. All right, let's go to Bill Clinton. The statements about the GOP going back to Jim Crow. Here's what he said.
I can't help thinking, since we just celebrated the 4th of July and we're supposed to be a country dedicated to liberty, that one of the most pervasive political movements going on outside Washington today is the disciplined, passionate, determined effort of Republican governors and legislators to keep most of you from voting next time. There has never been in my lifetime, since we got rid of the poll tax and all the other Jim Crow burdens on voting, the determined effort to limit the franchise that we see today.
Same guy that said about Barack Obama, they played the race card on me, and they planned it from the very beginning. So in just a week, Republicans have been called terrorists, suicide bombers, and now that they want to go back to Jim Crow.
Yeah, he didn't really say, he wasn't really using Jim Crow. It's sort of taken out of context.
Wait, that's not taken. It's that Republican governors and legislators want to keep
I think it was taken out of context.
No, because what
He said there's never been a time in my life.
Wait a second. The Democrats have, since I've been in politics, starting in 1963, they have been trying to steal votes in big cities where they have machines where they can do it. Republicans used to do it when we had big city machines. We don't have them. We haven't had them. And then they say that if we try to stop voter fraud, we're trying to suppress vote. No, we're trying to suppress voter fraud. And they play this hand every single time.
But you can't
and they're wrong every single
by
time.
shutting down people's ability to register and vote. It make it tougher. It's not
Registering to vote on the same day you vote is a formula for fraud.
I think you're right, Tony. I think that's right, that it's that you're asking for voter fraud, and it's not necessary. I mean,
there's ways to, I mean, we should let people register. There's ways to check their ID, other things. I mean, you don't have, it doesn't have to be fraudulent.
It also doesn't have to be on the day. One of the things, for example, I do think that college kids should have the right to vote where they go to school. All right? And that's one thing that I think.
You mean in the state that they're going to school?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we should have it should be a holiday on the day we vote. There's all kinds of things we can do to make it easier for people to vote, not make it harder.
But you don't want to make it so easy that it can be fraudulent. And same-day voting is an open invitation to fraudulent voting. And then after the election, a week later, you didn't have to litigate to try to get a vote back. It doesn't happen. So that's why the Democrats want to try to keep same-day voting, why Republican governors are correctly going about trying to stop same-day voting.
Yes.
All right, let me go to this story. The president has been urging the Texas Governor Perry to waive the death penalty, which is going to happen, I guess, sometime tonight if it hasn't happened already. It did. All right, so it did happen. All right. But his argument was this is a guy that raped a 16-year-old girl and murdered her. Brutal murder. 16-year-old kid. And his argument is, well, he didn't get to see his counsel, you know, the Mexican counsel. And when he had an opportunity, you know, when he had a state-appointed attorney, et cetera, he had all his rights, he was convicted. And I'm thinking, why would Obama take that issue on at this time with Perry potentially getting into the ring?
Well, I think obviously two things. One, I think he wanted to take a shot at Perry, but also apparently he sincerely believed that this man had had his rights denied, which he had not had, and the Supreme Court said he had not had, and he's now been properly executed.
I think he did it for the right reason, which is if you will do this, then every American out there who runs afoul in Mexico or anywhere
Every
else
American who rapes and brutally murders a person in Mexico may get convicted of a crime in Mexico.
Who gets accused of it and doesn't get counsel from the,
He was found guilty. No one's questioning his guilt. He got
No,
a full
no.
American right. The only thing he didn't get was told
this
to
is
meet
like-
with Mexican officials. That's what he was complaining
No, I mean, this is crazy. We do things in this country like, for instance, when we do the machines that you walk in and they get to frisk you, that whole thing. Wait until you go to other countries and go through that.
Can I just stop you here for a second?
Because other countries don't treat people the same way we do.
Mexico has done nothing to stop the illegal immigration problem into this country. As a matter of fact, they've encouraged it.
It's not about
the government
illegal.
itself.
This wasn't
Remember
about
the maps?
illegal immigration.
Remember the
It's
water
about-
stations? And I'm saying, hang on a second.
Well, what do you think the reason is?
If
What do
we
you
have
think
a
Obama's doing?
treaty with other countries that say
I think
that
Obama
we treat our prisoners this
miscalculated.
way, then we have,
Right.
then Americans, if we don't do that, American citizens are going to have the potential of being
Oh, then
treated
if that's
that
the case,
way.
then American dollars won't go to Mexico if we're going to be treated poorly.
Well,
you know what? We prop up their economy. The reason
shouldn't
their
be members
economy
of the
doesn't
treaty.
change is
We
because
give more justice
Yeah.
to defendants here than I think virtually any country in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
And a little too much, I think, sometimes, right?
Case, then American dollars won't go to Mexico if we're going to be treated poorly. You
Well,
know what? We prop up their economy. The reason
shouldn't
their
be members
economy
of the
doesn't
treaty.
change is
We
because
give more justice
Yeah.
to defendants here than I think virtually any country in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
And a little too much, I think, sometimes, right?
You're talking about Casey Anthony? That's all the time we have left. Thanks for being with us, and we toss it to Greta. We'll see you tomorrow night.